So, Chairman, it's been another week on the road to Tone Town, and many of our viewers, many of our listeners, depending on what medium you get your podcast through, have been with us. We basically have like a tour bus that we're taking people along with us. We've got many trailers hitched to this tour bus on the way to Tone Town. It's been windy.
There's a mini bar.
There's a mini bar. That's
Yep.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
And I feel like, we're getting a little closer week by week. And this week, I think, is going to get us even closer in that it's a question that a lot of people ask a lot, where they want to know about what's a good value product. In other words, what's a product that not only is reasonably priced for an economical budget, but also is well built, because sometimes those two things are in conflict with each other. If it's well built, it may not necessarily mean that it's going to be an inexpensive product. And so we want to kind of find where some products kind of meet in the middle, or in another case where products might have kind of slipped past you when they were new, but are now very reasonable on the used market, and you can get a really well-built, great sounding effect that maybe didn't have the notoriety or popularity that it should have when it was new. And now that it's on the used market, they're very reasonable. Maybe this product isn't made anymore. I'm really curious to hear from you guys about what those products might be. I know I have an internal list of things that I kind of always think about when I'm talking about, really well-built budget pedals that sound great, but also are affordable, and then kind of like stuff that's sort of more of a sleeper that kind of went under the radar when it was brand new and now is a really great pedal that is not as expensive to get and can be a great asset to your board and further your rig as it makes its way to Tone Town. But before we get into that conversation, which I'm really excited to talk about, I want to talk about some of the exciting sponsors that make this podcast possible. Now, I want to just do an aside here to say that between all of us, we utilize these products and services, and these are not just things that we've pulled out of thin air because, somebody had offered us an incredible amount of money to sponsor them. This is why you don't have a Lipitor sponsorship here yet or a Flomax sponsorship here yet, although we are open to that. These are all companies that we use the products of and that we really love. So firstly, we have to always thank the Guitar Sanctuary. And if you're not aware, that is where Brian Omilion is currently sitting. He's sitting in the west wing of the Guitar Sanctuary where he builds pedalboard rigs. But also they have an amazing shop that carries great products, including many of which we will speak about today. And also they carry Vertex Effects, they carry Goodwood audio products. And if you want to have a pedalboard built, you can also commission Brian Omilion to do it for you through the Guitar Sanctuary. So really great store. If you're interested in getting some of the stuff that we're talking about today, a great place to get it. Secondly, Pedal Genie. Now, if you've ever used Netflix, and of course all of us have used Netflix, and if you're old enough to remember the original Netflix when you used to have to, select which DVDs or Blu-ray discs you wanted to have shipped to you in the mail, and you would watch those videos and then send them back to Netflix and they'd send you another 3. Pedal Genie is in essence the Netflix of pedal rentals. So if you want to have a pedal to try out in your rig and you don't want the risk of having to buy it and then return it or worry about a return policy, Pedal Genie makes it easy in that you can determine the number of pedals that you want to have at one time based on their different sort of tiers of membership. And you can get pedals in your home mailed to you to try with your rig to see if you like it. And then you can either decide at that point if you want to go ahead and buy that pedal or if you want to send it back and get some other pedals in exchange. And again, it is like the Netflix of pedals, and they are offering a special promotion, which is half off, 50% off the first month. So you get half off. You're basically going to be able to experiment with whatever tier of membership you want, and you're going to get 50% off that. And the way that you're going to redeem that 50% off is with the code BOARD, BOARD. Enter the code BOARD, get 50% off. Tell them the chairman sent you. Pedal Genie is a great company. Also, Another great company with which we're using and getting parts from all the time for pedalboard and rig builds is Bestronix, also known as BTPA. I get all of my plugs, I get most of my cable, I get a lot of my DC connectors, I get all the stuff that I need in order to build my own DIY pedalboard from Bestronix. I highly recommend that you check out their site. They have an amazing, amazing inventory of any type of cable you can think of. They make their own cable, but they also specialize in carrying lots of different brands' cables. And they're offering a 10% store-wide discount using the coupon code DACHAIRS, because they're based out of Chicago. If you remember the old SNL skit, The Bears, it's DACHAIRS. Again, that's DACHAIRS. You get 10% off store-wide if you're thinking about buying some new things for your pedalboard. Head over to Bestronix and you'll be able to get that 10% off. Also, RJM Music. Ron and Sherry, it is a family-owned and operated company, make the best switchers in the business. Brian, me, and Grant all unanimously agree that this is the best switcher on Earth. If you live on a different planet, there may be another switcher there that is better than this, but as long as you're on the planet Earth, you're not going to find one better. The PBC6X, the PBC10, so many great products there that we are using. Literally, Brian and Grant are probably using these on a weekly basis. 2 of my 4 rigs utilize RJM switchers. They're absolutely amazing. And if you want to check out one of the best cool new products, which is a programmable MIDI overdrive pedal, the Overture from RJM, which they just released in a limited edition black, definitely head over to the RJM website. They sell direct and they make incredible products, have amazing service. You send Ron an email and a couple minutes later, he's going to be responding to you. It seems like, and I feel like it's not just for me as a manufacturer. I've heard customers saying, oh man, I emailed him and like before I even pressed send, Ron's already responded with the solution to my problem. So many great products over there. Highly recommend that you check out RGM if you're interested in a switcher. Lastly, Creation Music Company. Now, they've been in the business for quite a long time. They make great products for pedalboard-based rigs, but also they make pedalboards, cases. They are now getting into plugs, and they're offering a 15% off coupon for Chairman of the Board's listeners using the code Chairman15. So you can head over to the Creation Music Company website. You can check out their pedalboard, check out their mini cakes, which Brian now is almost using exclusively for all of his 1/4-inch connectors. Go and check those out over on their site. They also sell a lot of accessories to build pedal boards as well. Absolutely one of the best in the business, based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, right in the middle of the country. Awesome. That means it's easy for shipping because it's only a couple days to each coast. Definitely check them out. Again, Chairman15, CHARMEN 15 for Creation Music Company. Get 15% off anything in their store. With that said, Chairman, let's talk.
Hello.
Let's talk. Who wants to start us off when we're talking about well-made pedals that are a very reasonable price? Let's start first with new stuff before we get into any of the conversations about maybe some of the more like sleeper stuff that you can get on a budget.
I think I think the first thing I would probably bring up is this is probably a bias that I have. I probably still have it to a degree. I'm trying to get rid of it, and today's episode honestly is going to help me out with this. But I have the bias if I'm on Reverb or Facebook Marketplace, wherever I am trying to find a pedal. If it's like under $150, and I'm talking Canadian dollars, so $100. If it's under $100 US, I'm like, it can't be that good. Like, it's cheap. And that's the first word that comes to my head is it's cheap. I got to look for something like 200 plus because that's where the good pedals are.
Right.
And over the years, I look back and I start looking at these pedals that I've really enjoyed. Often when I walk into a room and a buddy's playing, like, man, that sounds awesome. What are you using? And they pull out this pedal that is, in air quotes, cheap, but sounds incredible. And we're going to talk about some of those today. So I think I would just encourage you guys, talking to myself as well, to our listeners here, let's get rid of the filters of if it doesn't cost a lot, it's bad. or not worth your time, because it just isn't the case. And so that's why I'm really pumped about today. And I'll, I guess, start with, should we talk about specific pedals right off the bat, or are we going for something a little bit more general first?
No, I think let's get right into specific pedals. And I just think right now let's restrict it to stuff that is new. You would go and get it at a store new, and then we can maybe go to like kind of more of the sleeper pedals that are really great. You can get them on a budget secondhand, through Reverb, Craigslist, eBay, etc.
I would say there's two pedals. I'll give you one right now, and I'm gonna hold off the other one for suspense.
Okay.
The one that has pleasantly surprised me, I still remember the first time I heard it. I remember where I was and that I was ashamed that I hadn't found it before my buddy, was the Moore Yellow Comp. It is a twofer in the sense that it is awesome in terms of its sound. It's a compressor. Awesome in terms of its sound, but it's also a mini pedal, so it doesn't take up a lot of room on your board. And I remember walking into the room where he was playing and saying, "Man, your compressor sounds great." Look down at his board, like, "Oh man, you didn't spend $500 on your compressor and it sounds that good." Like, he's putting me to shame, And so that was my first, the first one I was surprised by. I think that one you can probably get for easily under $100. Moore is, I don't want to say cheap because that's a bad word, an affordable brand that make some pretty decent pedals. That one was a standout for me.
I'm just looking how much it is. Which the name of the compressor called? The yellow?
I just
Yellow
always
comp?
called it the yellow compressor.
It is called the yellow comp.
Okay, good.
$65.
There you go.
$65 on Amazon. If you live in Oakland, California, you can get it by Friday.
There you go.
Which
you can be compressing your tone
is Thursday.
In a day.
So one day.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan. I have to say it's based on, and you guys can correct me if the Diamond version is based on something else as well, but it's based on the Diamond Yellow Comp or Yellow Compressor, that one they do, which also I have and love.
Great.
I love
but
that
it's
one.
the Diamond version is 4 times the price maybe. So
Well, right now with them all discontinued, right? Isn't the company? Yeah. So
yeah. So it's a great pedal. Great pedal.
Well, I'm sorry that you lost a good man up there in Canada. Because isn't Diamond Canadian?
Canadian. Yeah.
And I think his name was Amish, right?
I think he was Amish. No, it's not it.
him and the Amish.
He just
What
wanted
was
more
his name?
time for.
He had a really cool name.
I don't know, to be honest.
I feel like that was his name.
I don't know. He wanted more time for dog sledding and building igloos, and now he's got it.
They make a really good tremolo. My pick for new, we're doing new, is actually the JHS the 3 series.
Nice.
I like them all. I mean, I'm a sucker for like really simple stuff. So for a basic reverb, and I think they come out with a couple other reverb versions, a Hall and plate and stuff ones, but for $99, it's really simple. I think they were all made in the height of COVID. A lot of them were made at their employees' houses and stuff. But it's just a really good sounding reverb. And the other stuff is really on par too. Like their delay is great. I mean, the 3 series in general, they're all $99. Really simple, really well new.
And not even triple
the
digits.
3 series, why is it called the 3 series? Is it because they're prime numbers or there's 3 knobs?
I think it's because it's 3 knobs. Like it's as basic as, okay. We had a whole demo board and I pulled it all apart to do a new demo board. So I have a ton of them in my drawer to build. Yeah, so looking at them, they're all 3 knobs with a single toggle switch. So yeah.
Nice.
Simple.
I have heard very good things about them. I haven't had any time with the range of 3 series, but again, when JHS announced that, I was like, under $100, is it really going to be any good? But I haven't heard any bad reviews from people. I've heard great things about them.
Mm-hmm. You see a lot of them on like acoustic boards. But we were all skeptical too for a while. We're like, we'll see. And then like we all played and I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty unbelievable, again, from a manufacturing standpoint, and I think Grant and I can speak to this because we're both manufacturing, pedals and or buffer interface boxes, that to make something for $99 in the USA, I mean,
and be profitable.
Again, not everything on a pedal is made in the USA, right? Like, at least here in California, we have very strict rules around what can be said as made in USA, because you have to prove not only are all the assembly done here, but also that all of the components and everything like that are sourced in America and made in America. And the truth is, like, there's no potentiometers. There's really no passive components, capacitors, resistors,
chips
that are made. Yeah, IC chips that are made in America. Even a lot of the PC boards, even if you're buying them from an American-based company, they're most likely having them manufactured overseas. But with that said, everybody is in that same boat. So there's nobody who's really immune to that. Given that, $99, I mean, like, the margins have to be paper thin for JHS to produce them for that amount and sell them at market for that amount. Because what the consumer may not realize is that, when a dealership is buying those, they're at least getting 30% off of that price. So if you're buying it for $100, the dealer's buying it for like 70. So already, Josh Scott has to be making it for less than 70. So at least he has some profit in the product. And that's just, kind of like a regular old dealer. If he's selling to a big distribution company that's, buying hundreds of them at once, he's probably giving them more like, 40 or 50%. So, you have to kind of think of, like, he's doing everybody a solid by selling them for that much, because it's certainly not for the money. Like, it's a hard endeavor. I wouldn't have the courage to do that.
And they sound good. It's not just an affordable pedal. It's the graphics the graphics show that it's a more affordable pedal, but that's a pretty good trade-off if you want to find a pedal that sounds great for under $100.
Yeah.
So I'd say well done, JHS. Good job.
Yeah.
Yes. Same.
Yeah.
What would you say, Mason?
Well, I have a couple here, and I don't know if we want to stagger it. Grant has said he's going to withhold some of his other suggestions.
I've got a snare here, so I can do a drum roll later.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
well, there's a couple. Well, in keeping with the more stuff, I think that their best pedal is the E Lady.
Okay.
And it sounds like it's like something related to like Electric Ladyland or something like that. It was like a Hendrix pedal. It's not. It is an Electro Harmonics flanger, and it's got that electric mistress sound in a small, compact mini pedal. And I think it sounds really great, because I've now become large board averse. Like, when I build a board for myself, I really try to see if I can do it in our smallest pedal board size, a 17 by 10. And I don't use any expression pedals or volume pedals on the board, so that I can really restrict it to its bare minimum moving parts. And that is a great candidate. And now I wouldn't say that the more stuff is particularly well built, like better. It's not better built than a 3 Series JHS. But I think for the price that it is, it's as well built as it could possibly be. So you can't expect to have the quality of a $200 pedal, say like a Wampler or,
a Vertex,
a Sur, or one of our things at $68. It's just not possible. The money has to be cut from somewhere, right? They can't do, because again, just with what we were talking about with Josh, if they're selling a pedal for $65, usually the methodology in manufacturing is at least 4x your cost. So if you're dividing, a $60 pedal, and you're saying, okay, and I'm this is speculation. Of course, maybe they have a different, way that they're doing stuff. But this pedal is going to be costing around $15 or $16 to make. There's just no way that, like an enclosure, for
biggest
most of us
expenses.
here,
Seriously,
is probably like $8, if in quantity. And so there's like half the budget already, and so there has to be some way that they're making up the cost difference. And so I when I buy it, I don't expect that to be like something that's going to last forever. But I think for what it is, it's very acceptable. But I like that. I really like that pedal. If we're speaking about more, I'll say a pedal company that I think makes really great stuff that's underrated and is very affordable is Tech 21 and Sansamp. Yeah, I don't feel like anybody's talking about them anymore. I feel like they were real pioneers and innovators very early on as it came to cabinet simulation and preamp style pedals. They had a whole sort of like heritage series of different sorts of amp emulation in a box, whether it be Marshall or Vox or Fender. They were very early to that party, almost too early where they were, they left before it really got raging. But they were doing this decades before, UA or Strymon or Walrus were ever into this stuff. And albeit, they were limited by the technology that was available then. But I think that they make incredible, incredible pedals. I think that their amp in a box pedals are still some of the greatest. Their Vox amp in a box thing is really pretty excellent. I would say of all of the Vox, style overdrive distortion pedals, there's three that stand out. One of them is the Wampler one. I think it's called the Ace 30, the Tech 21, and then the third one is the Menatone one. And Menatone, I'm not really sure what he's up to now, but I think he's kind of, I think he makes like pipes, like smoking
Didn't
pipes.
see that coming.
okay.
Tobacco pipes,
Not plumbing.
no.
Yep. He's a homer.
No, I was thinking more that people were envisioning like him making like a bongs or something like doing glass blowing or something like that. And no, these are wood pipes. What you put in it is your business. But in any case, I think that they had the best three. I think it was called a top boost in a can. Those are all really great pedals, but the Tech 21 I think is really a great deal. I would also say, and I know that this isn't a sexy answer, but MXR and Dunlop I think make really good stuff for the money.
Yeah,
like they are, I think, still primarily USA made. Their factory is actually not too far from where I live in Oakland. They're in Benicia, which is kind of in the Delta area of the Bay Area, where the Bay kind of comes into this little delta as it kind of goes northeast of San Francisco, and they have these little. It's kind of interesting when you go to their headquarters. It's like military Quonset huts, which are like those like half dome buildings that are kind of narrow and long. And so I don't know if those were just like the easiest when Dunlop was founded, if that was the easiest way to get offices on a plot of land, because that's kind of what it is. And I think that they still make most of the stuff, if not all the stuff there. Maybe they outsource some of the things, but it's pretty incredible. Their operations still, it's still run by their son. So it's still in the Dunlop family, and they make really high quality stuff. They have really good engineers. I've spoken with some of their engineers before. One time I was going to a concert at this music club called Yoshi's in Oakland, and I just happened to be seated next to one of their engineers. And so we were talking about pedals and stuff like that, and really smart guy. And they just have really, really talented people. And I think that they've really figured out how to make a really high quality product. They've really figured out what stuff just works. I'm always very impressed, with the build quality and the consistency of stuff from Dunlop and as an extension MXR and some of their sister companies.
Love it.
Yeah, they make great stuff. They just came out with what was it
The
called?
Duke of Tone.
Oh, is that another one?
Yeah, you haven't seen the Duke of Tone yet?
No, like I said, since I'm back here, I don't typically get to see all the new pedals that come out that we get.
Right? Do they actually have do they have a lock on the pedalboard door there, so you can't?
There, it is in a storage room in the back. So it's funny though because
back
people,
to your room.
Yeah, well, people be like, "All right, you going back?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm heading back." They're like, "All right, you're headed back to the dungeon." And I was like, "I mean, I am in the back. People forget about me, but I think it's called is it the Univerb? Like it's their Univibe verb pedal or something that just came out."
Oh, I think that's it's Rocket. Rocket.
Oh, is that Rocket? I thought that was MXR. See, like I said, I'm in the back.
It is a pedal, so we'll
Rocket
give you that.
does make good stuff, though. I will say that I like that one.
Yeah.
But I also do like MXR. MXR makes like even like the carbon copy from MXR.
I was gonna say,
like
I love the carbon copy.
Like it's funny though. I don't know why I prefer the basic small carbon copy over the deluxe. I don't know why.
Not the mini one. Maybe if you went mini, you'd like it even more. Just get smaller.
No.
Just smaller.
No, because when you think about it, when you start putting smaller pedals next to each other, then you start stepping on two of them at a time. And
what do you care? You always use a switcher.
Unless you use a switcher, yeah. I mean that could be. I mean, maybe I should look at that on my board because I'm like turning pedals in all directions.
By the way, whenever you guys write switcher in your text messages, does it change it to swisher? Because I've written swisher so many times.
No.
It corrects mine to switches instead of switchers.
Which is weird because like you'd think I was like a Swisher sweet smoker or something like that because it's always changing it over to.
Oh, yeah.
I always write looper, so I think that's why I'm in the clear there. But looper is a confusing word to use, right? Easily confused. So I haven't gone the Swisher route yet, but maybe I should try that this week. I'll change my habits,
and then you'll be in the Swiffer route.
Ooh,
there you go.
Yep. Clean it up.
Yep. Thank you, autocorrect.
Autocorrect.
So
Brian, you got any? Sorry, Mason, you go.
No. I was just kind of recapping. So we talked a little bit about Moore. We talked about JHS 3 Series. We talked about Tech 21, and I also talked about Dunlop and MXR. Brian, is there any that you want to add to this? Because there's still a few more that I have on this list as far as new pedals are concerned.
I don't know if this is considered new as in you can buy it new or as in like it's just come out new.
No, like you can buy it new. Like it's not a second hand purchase. Like you could go to a store and purchase. It doesn't need to be like brand new like it just came out this week.
I gotta go with the RC Booster by Exotic. Not the new one. The white one, the white version. Is that considered new? Because you can still buy them new.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're saying they still manufacture this product.
They do. Yeah. No, yeah. Okay. So new as in they still manufacture it. Yes. I would say that because at a new price, it's still affordable.
Is that under
let's take a look.
150?
I'm looking at Exotic.
I think it's like I want to say it's
168. 168.
Okay. So we're into the triple digits. But
Yeah,
under $200 for a pedal is still respectable.
And if you can get it used, you can get them from like $80, which
there's a lot of them out there.
Now, I know that the white RC Booster has now had some mystique added to it. Yeah, like it's funny. You can get a new RC Booster V2, which has multiple channels.
Is it the silver looking one?
The silver looking one.
Yeah.
For 172. Every single V1 white is like 200 or more.
No way.
There's something about it's because the secondary foot switch, if you're going to hit it, you obviously have to have it in a spot to hit it. There's no jack on the side to access that second channel, but I think it's just a gain. It's an extra gain, right?
Yeah, it selects a second gain pot. So you have like that extra. And I think that was like a Scott Henderson
it was.
Requested thing. who's a longtime user of the RC Booster.
Yeah.
Who I've built probably the most unique shaped pedal board that was in the shape of an L.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. You've never seen the Scott Henderson pedal board?
No, I know.
Okay,
now I want to see it.
Are we
We're
taking
taking
an
a
off-ramp?
detour.
We're taking a little detour.
A
We're gonna do
little
this-
rest stop.
and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll get a chance to see this. But if you're not, then it'll
Close
be
your
a
eyes
little
and imagine
more
with us.
complicated. But you're gonna visualize the best that you can. Visualize the best you can. All right, let's see. I'm trying to find a respectable photo. I think I may have found one. Let's see here. Yeah, it's the only pedal board that I've ever had requested to be in something that was like a non-traditional shape.
Now, is it an L or is it like an A frame? Did he specifically say L?
He wanted it to be where like he had like kind of like two sections that he could kind of manipulate. So I'm just trying to see if we can get okay. Here we go.
I've had someone ask for a half circle like board.
All right, here
No
we
one
go.
daring enough yet
An
to do the
arch.
full circle though, where you just have to do like a
All
1,
right.
2, 3
Yeah,
mini
so-
transition.
so-
Oh, nice.
So you see how it's like in two sections?
It's smaller than I thought it would be.
Yeah, so this is the one on the left was the original one that he had, and then this one on the right is the one that I had made for him that, just remade it into a smaller unit, and everything runs on batteries. There's no
Crazy.
there's nothing that plugs in.
And there's an
as
RC.
far
That's
as-
an RC booster. Or is that an AC booster?
That's an RC booster.
So,
Yeah,
but it looks like it's
RC
like a
booster.
copper looking one.
Yeah, it was a copper one. And the reason why there's nothing plugged into the chorus is that goes to the front of the amp, and then the effects loop comes into the EWS subtle volume control, and then he had a wah and a volume pedal after on the kind of the side there. But anyway, that was the most unique shape I've ever made.
I gotta ask,
he's-
is that board connected or is it two pieces?
it's connected.
Like it's one
Yeah,
whole
it's
thing.
connected.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
it's one continuous piece.
That's slick.
Yeah.
I like it.
And I don't know if he's still using that was probably 10 years ago that I made that, but yeah, so he may be on to something different, but I just remember at the time it was like, oh, I've never made anything in that shape.
I mean, imagine going to your board builder and be like, listen, like your manufacturer of that flat board, I need it in the shape of this. And they're like, is that two boards?
I need
That's
it in the
funny.
shape of Texas.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, RC.
So RC Booster. Another thing that I would say, and I know that, that there's been a lot of talk about his brand as of late because of his announcement to close, but I think Full Tone is a very reasonably priced product until, last week when everybody is now up the price of an OCD to like, I think the, 280 is like the cheapest OCD. But formerly an OCD, I think, was $134. A full drive was under $200. I think that for the quality of product that he makes, it is an incredibly great buy. And I think his popularity had kind of waned even before he had some difficulty in the public eye, because he really hadn't kept up with the way that pedals are marketed with Instagram and social media and stuff like that. But his products, I think, are as close to like old school boutique style, like style makings, where it was like everything inside of the pedal was, it had a PC board as a kind of like the main board, but all the foot switches were hand wired, all the jacks were hand wired, the DC jacks were hand wired. He would hot glue the DC jacks so that they wouldn't move. There was just like little detail work that is like expensive. And I think that the thing that that I always look at from a manufacturing standpoint is like, how can you reduce the amount of handwork that needs to be done? Because labor is the most expensive individual cost, but not compromise on quality. And there's some things that's like a no-brainer to remove on handwork, like wave soldering or using a pick in place instead of loading components by hand and soldering with a machine is always more consistent. Anybody that is contending that a hand wired is going to be more reliable is out of their mind and has never done manufacturing. As far as the pedal is concerned, because there's just more human error that can come into play when you're doing hand wired, especially for something like a guitar pedal. For an amplifier, these could be there's different arguments to be made there for hand wiring versus PCB and where it's critical. But Full Tone, I think, really does a great job. I mean, it's truly still a boutique pedal, and the prices and the quality of the metal and all that stuff. Like, I have Full Tone pedals here that are 15 years old, and the paint is still as good as it was on day one. Like, they're very, very well made. You do the right processes, and they're great for the price. I mean, again, the fact that an OCD is whatever $134. Like, I have no idea. I mean, again, the margin on that's got to be paper thin.
Yeah. I had the OCD and I had the full drive. There's a couple different versions of the full drive. I had the blue with the MOSFET one, and they were solid. I mean, the fact that the enclosures, I like someone that I have to remove bottoms or flip bottoms over on pedals depending on what it is, or change dip switches inside. Like, sometimes those screws will get stripped out, but it was really smart how he did those like little like thumb screw things on the outside for like the whole enclosure, like just little things like that. But I mean, I have a friend who was trying to drop his full drive too for like $50-$60 because he's like, oh, I'm just trying to get rid of it, and now he's like, I'm gonna hold on to it. Like, you might want, and it's a solid pedal, it really is. And like they're just good. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I think for the money, they're unquestionably great. Is there any other new pedal companies that we think are worth mentioning here that make a really great product that's very affordable?
One of my favorite overdrives, again, that I was surprised by, very affordable, is the EHX Soul Food, which is a Klon clone.
Mm-hmm.
I, again, remember when I first heard this pedal, and I was not expecting much, and a buddy, again, was playing it and asked him what he was using, and that was it. Looked it up. I think at the time, this was a few years back, at the time it was around $100. Like, it was so cheap. So that was one for me, very good, because especially nowadays, I mean, there's clones everywhere, some of them selling for $400, $500, whatever it is, or you can get the real thing for thousands. But the Soul Food, around $100, give or take, very cheap, very good, decently well made. Pretty happy with that. I'll just rattle off a couple companies, but one that JHS did a full video on was, I think it's pronounced Kaline or Kaline Guitar Effects. And again, those are around the $60-$70 price point. And I watched the full video on that, and they actually looked pretty good. And it wasn't a sponsored video, so you could be a little bit more honest, which was what we talked about in the previous episode. And then Behringer as well. They do some really good analog stuff and clones and copies for very affordable prices. So I would say, if I was just to rattle off a couple companies, those would be ones to check out. But yeah, I was really happy with the EHX Soul Food for an overdrive.
Mm-hmm. Any other new ones that you would want to mention, Brian?
New ones. I have a couple. So the first one, it's actually another compressor. It's a small one. It's the Blossom by the Jackson Audio crew. So it's not
like their mini one.
Yeah, they're mini one. It's only one.
How much do those go for?
The Blossom, I'd have to, let me jump online and see if I can find it. I want to say let me find it.
I'm going to guess 179.
179, you think?
That's my guess.
Okay.
I have no idea, actually, but
it's
that's my
169. Guess. I didn't know.
I was off by $10.
So and yeah, you're not bad. And like it's only one mode of their bigger version, the Bloom, which is 329.
Mm-hmm.
I just like how compact it is. If you've ever bought a Jackson pedal, a lot of their newer enclosures are just like freaking tanks. Like the prisms. You get into like the Golden Boy and the Bloom and stuff, and the Fuzz pedals. Their enclosures are a little bit thinner, because of it's a different type of enclosure that they used. But the Blossom is it's just like it's heavy. It's it's the switch is really great. It's a really good basic sounding compression. Um, that would be one. The guys over at Brown Amplification, and this is a newer product that they came out with called the Fixer. So it's like a dual buffer boost pedal with a mute switch, which I have one right here.
Okay.
Really simple, real basic, a tuner out so you can mute. A lot of people use them in different ways. I use it as like a first in, and one side I use for like my Duojet, and then the other side I use for my Gretsch. So depending what guitar I was using, I could adjust the levels, and it's really nice, quiet sounding, really nice and clear. It's always on, so there isn't like an off mode. So it's not like you have like off and then two different types of mode. It's A or B. So them, and then actually you guys maybe you guys know, I don't know, Creation Music Company bought Fox Pedals, a pedal line company, and so they've been coming out with a bunch of new or updated versions of their pedals, and I got to play on them a couple years ago, and they were just they seem to be in that like JHS like price range where it's under 200, but some of them were closer to 100 if I can remember correctly. So there's there's a lot of really great affordable companies out there, but those would be a couple I would say.
Love it.
One that I forgot about, and I was just kind of looking here online just to kind of get a fresh reminder, is who makes really good pedals that are great for the money is actually Fender.
Yep.
I haven't tried their new like super budget line, which is called the I think it's like a hammer tone line that don't really look so good. But the ones that they did a couple years ago, that are still, of course, around, that are kind of more of an anodized enclosure, bent metal, those are actually pretty dang good pedals. And I mean, they went out and hired some, pedigree, kind of like guys that just were kind of legacy pedal makers, guys that were former DOD and Digitech people, and kind of like a lot of fairly well-known pedal designers. And Fender made some really pretty nice pedals, and I think that they had some, I'm trying to remember some of them that I thought were really good. There was one called, I think, the Pinwheel, that was really a nice pedal. I think that some of their overdrives and distortion pedals were great. I think Bruce Egnater designed one of the distortion pedals that had like a tube in it. They had some pretty cool pedals, and I think that they were all pretty reasonable. I think that the average price on them was around maybe $120 to $150, and then there was like a few like larger size pedals that were maybe around closer to $200, but they were like things that were trying to compete with a Strymon El Capistan or something like that. So in relative terms was maybe half the price, and was really pretty well made, especially when you consider the amount. So I was very impressed with those pedals, again, relative to their price point. I'm sure that they were probably all made overseas. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean, and I think that this is another misnomer that should be mentioned in this, is that just because something is made in China or Taiwan or Malaysia, it doesn't mean that it's bad or that it's not well made. I think that the difference is that if you want something to be made really cheap, you can't do it here, because there's just there is a floor that you can't go below when it comes to the cost of labor. Whereas in a third world country, the labor costs are just so much less that you can pretty much, like I've heard people say, totally anecdotal, that when they quote stuff overseas, when they have stuff quoted overseas, that they generally, or that the contract manufacturers are not even considering the cost of labor. It's so negligible. It's almost just the cost of parts.
That's
and
insane.
so, yeah, so I think that's one thing that like people don't realize. You can get most of the cheap parts that you can buy if your goal is just cheap. You could probably get those here. Obviously you're going to have, importation taxes and duties and shipping charges and stuff like that to get stuff here. And it depends on how it comes. Does it come by air, which is pretty expensive, especially now, or is it coming by boat, which is way less expensive but takes a long time? I would imagine somebody who's trying to just make it as cheap as possible, it's easier for them just to outsource it all, have it made as cheaply as possible, use the cheapest possible parts. Labor is already negligible, according to some people that I know that manufacture over there exclusively. And they end up with a product that is not particularly well made. Now, it's not China or Taiwan or Malaysia's fault that the pedal is not that good. The manufacturer spec'd it for a price, and a company agreed to build it for them at that price. If they wanted it to be really well made and made in China, Taiwan, Malaysia, fill in the blank country that specializes in electronic manufacturing, they could just as easily do that. A lot of the equipment that's over there is the same stuff that people are buying here. And I know some companies that are making parts of their pedals overseas, like maybe the PC board level stuff. And a lot of that was coming from there anyway. Like when you buy, again, spec a PC board out and you're buying 1,000 quantity, it's usually not made in America. It's, even if it's an American company, they're generally outsourcing it. They're building the PC boards overseas, and then they're importing them, back into the country. And some of that has to do with environmental reasons, and other things that are sort of, maybe not as known at face value. But yeah, I think that there can be great stuff that's made in China. I think proof of that is, Apple laptops, iPhones. Like, that's an amazing product that none of us think is like crap quality. That is completely made in China. So it's possible to make really good stuff there. I think it depends on what the objective is.
Yeah.
Designed in California, though.
Designed in California.
Designed in. Well, there's like a lot of switchers, a lot of switching systems, like RJM controllers, like any of that kind of stuff. Like, well, during COVID, it was, oh yeah, we're waiting on screens. They're coming from overseas, like LED screens, like those types of things. I mean, that's the same thing. So I agree completely.
Yeah. Well, we got a little off topic, but I think let's return to budget, or let's maybe some pedals that you can get on the secondhand market that are really affordable in great buys. Who wants to start us off there?
I'll go.
I think you should. I don't really know as much about this, so I'm going to wait for you guys to chat, and I'll just try and add little jokes here and there.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna go with this guy.
Nice.
Nova Delay.
I love this guy. If the LED was not broken on this sucker, by the way, if you're listening and you know how to fix it, please let me know. The LED is mounted to the board. It's so tiny. And I just can't figure it out because I don't know electronics. But the Nova Delay for me is by far, like, depends on the person and the seller. Like, if it's not modded, it has no MIDI mod, no bank scroll mod, I've found them for $100 on Facebook Marketplace, like really cheap. There's some guys that, they'll try to sell them for $190 or whatever. But between Gear Pages or some, and it all depends on the condition. Like, this one was in really great condition. But it's just an overall good sounding delay. I love it. I'm obsessed with the ping pong feature on it. And I just like how heavy it is. Because I've taken apart a lot of these to do the MIDI mod, and MIDI mod, and I said MIDI bod. That's a whole different thing.
That's another episode, Brian.
I got a MIDI bod, bro.
MIDI bod. I do. If you have a MIDI bod, you're like your arms are because you're picking up that MIDI controller. But like taking this, if you've ever taken apart a pedal and looked like just the amount of time it takes to take it apart and just everything that's built, like it's a really solid. It's a heavy pedal, but it's by far one of my favorites. I've bought so many.
Does it make me am I going to lose my spot on the board here if I tell you guys I've never owned a Nova delay?
No, I don't. I want to. I don't think so. Mason.
Okay.
I mean, there's still time.
There
is still time. I heard Brian selling one for $100. That's
Broken
what I
LED.
heard. Yeah, exactly. No, I've definitely used them. I've definitely used them. I've just never owned one, and I've heard great things from you, Brian, from other people. It's a pedal I need to just get.
Yeah, what's just crazy. So something I didn't know about is while I was sick, so I have fever, I'm laying in bed, and I get a FaceTime from an Instagram FaceTime message thing from I don't know his last name. He's Jimmy Jams or Jimmy something. He's in Australia. But he was helping Nigel work on like a little board for him to travel with. But his timeline wouldn't work, or his Nova wouldn't work for stereo unless they plugged into the right inputs, which if you've ever used a Nova, you can plug into the left and still get a stereo signal out. All said and done, found out there was some kind of resistor on the inside or something that had blown, so they had to go in and fix it. But like it took him like 5 minutes to figure out and like open it up, and the first thing he says was, "Man, this thing is built really solid," because it was a pain to get open. I was like, well, between all the layers and everything, but like tonally, it's just like, it's a great pedal. I love it. It's one of those things that like I actually don't hate that it doesn't have MIDI. I do MIDI mods on it all the time, but I just like a good simple set it down, turn to BPM. Like it's, I'm hooked on it. So
love it.
Yeah. And that was sort of the last great, TC Electronic is still not, they still make, I think, good sounding pedals. I think the quality is not what it was from that generation. I think that was the last really great generation of TC Electronic, where the quality was very high. The sound was really great. And I think this is before they were bought out. I think Harman owns them now.
Oh, they did get bought out?
I think that they are owned by
Interesting.
Harman. Pretty sure.
Didn't Behringer, this was on another video I watched, that the company that owns Behringer also owned TC, I thought.
Is it Midas?
I think Behringer
Midas is also under the parent company. Behringer is a sister
I think is
company.
the big guy. Yeah.
No, there's one company that owns Behringer, Midas, TC.
I think it's owned by the Behringer guy. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Again, off topic, but a great pedal.
Yeah, I would say that. Oh shoot. I'm just looking. I mean, you can't go wrong with the good old DD5. Like
I was gonna say, some of the Boss.
Come
stuff.
on,
Yeah.
they make great stuff. I remember when back in high school in a band, I had the Nova delay and a DD5 or DD6, and a friend of mine had the DD7, and it was like it was the new pedal at the time, the DD7. And I was like, oh, I really want the DD7. But like a lot of the features that the 7 had, like I was perfectly happy with my 5. Like it sounded great, but that's a really good used pedal that you can buy. And correct me if I'm wrong, does the 5 have a tap tempo in? I can't remember.
Yep.
Some of them don't.
That was the first one. The 5 had the tap
Yeah.
in. The 6 did not have the tap in. You had to hold it down, and then the 7 had the tap in again.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I modded a 5 with a soft switch on the foot pedal wired to the jack, so you could like tap it without having an external, which was nice for a little acoustic board. But that's another one.
And
of my
on the
faves.
Boss thing as well, I think, Mason, you brought this up last episode. we have, the Timeline being the most, let's say, one of the most well-known multi-effects delay units out there. But then you have the Boss DD500 for significantly less, which you've mentioned you like even more than the Timeline, but you're saving a whole bunch of money by going that route anyways. So
DD500 is the best digital multi-effects delay. That
one's around what, 300, 350?
I don't know, but that'll be on my tombstone. the
DD500
best digital delay.
Tap here.
Or multi-effects, at least of this generation. It is $399.99.
Brand new.
The pastor at your funeral will be like, listen, Mason loved a lot of things, but he sure dang loved that DD500.
So the Strymon is it's $50 more.
Okay.
Or $49.
Or 50. Yeah.
So it's $50 more. Or maybe it's because I don't know if this is like because it's on sale at Sweetwater. Because I see some of them at $459, so I'm not sure. No,
so the price difference isn't as significant as I thought it was.
No, it's not as significant, but I can tell you on the used market, the DD500 certainly is way less.
Yeah.
People don't have the same love for the Boss stuff as they do the Strymon on the used market.
Yeah.
There's a couple that I was thinking of that I think are worth mentioning as standouts, other than what we just spoke about. One of them that I think a really great pedal that you can get secondhand that's amazing is a lot of the DoD and Digitech stuff, and I've talked about it quite a bit. Like the Hardwire series, although the reverbs have certainly gone up. The Hardwire DL8 delay, which is what Steve Lukather has been using for years, is a great Lexicon style delay pedal. Sounds absolutely amazing. If you go mono in and stereo out, you can get ping pong out of it. It has a beautiful ping pong delay. If you set it to tape, absolutely amazing sounding, really great. The Carcosa Fuzz, which I think was also a DoD, that is an amazing fuzz pedal. Sounds great. Very inexpensive. I think they were just blowing them out there at the end for like $99, maybe less. They're absolutely amazing sounding. Carl Martin Plexitone. Whether you get the single channel version, which is kind of a dog vomit yellow, or you get the original version, which is like a 3-channel, like kind of a wide box one where it has like 2 gain channels that are switchable. And I think, as I recall, both channels are the same, but you can just set them differently depending on what your preferences are. And then there's also a boost channel. That is absolutely insanely good and very reasonable. Excuse me. The MI Audio Crunch Box. That is an amazing Governor style pedal. So if you want kind of like a high gain Marshall-y style, the Governor is absolutely amazing. I think the JHS Angry Charlie is based on this. Is based on the Governor, and then the MI Audio one is just their interpretation of it. Has a 3-band EQ, sounds really great. The Jacques Meistersinger is a really great chorus. It's only mono, but it is Bucket Brigade, very simple to use. The enclosures, depending on what era Jacques you get, can be very unusual looking, but the tone, undeniably good. The DoD Milk Box Compressor is a very ugly but beautiful sounding compressor, and depending on what era you get, they name all of the compressor controls in these very cryptic ways that arc back to something to do with milk or dairy, like cream or pasteurization. Who would have thought that Louis Pasteur would have a knob, inadvertently named after him on a guitar pedal.
Yep.
But DoD was brave enough to go that route. That's another great compressor. Michael Thompson, renowned session musician, used that pedal on a lot of hit records. Really great sounding compressor, really beautiful sounding. Those are all absolutely fantastic. A tremolo called the BFD, and that stands for Blackface Deluxe. That was a really great sounding tremolo that everybody has slept on subsequently. It's all analog, sounds absolutely great. It's only 2 knobs, speed and intensity, just like a classic mid-60s Fender. That's a really great tremolo, again, all analog, no frills, no tap tempo, but really, really great sounding. I think those are some great ones that I have. All those can be had for under probably closer to 100, but certainly under 150, and are really great pedals.
Love it.
Yeah, I like those.
I
How
feel
about
like you guys are just spending my money right here. It's like, man, I need to go shopping after this. I don't think I really have too much more to add. I think I know the newer side of things better than I do the used. So I don't want to waste anyone's time by trying to come up with something, but I'm enjoying listening to this list. You guys are helping me out.
Would you say that Sans amp behind you for bass is a good?
I put that on a lot of bass boards. I wouldn't put it in the ultra affordable category. It's not over the top expensive. I think it's low to mid 2s, maybe. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't put in this super cheap. But I do really enjoy that pedal for bass. I've never used any of the Sans amp stuff, to be totally honest, on guitar.
It's $249 for the.
That's the bass one.
The bass,
I couldn't
bass
see that.
DI.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought that said Sans
that's
amp.
bass. It does say Sans amp.
It is Sans amp. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep.
I see a lot of them on acoustic rigs. Yeah.
Yeah. For bass rigs is where I have the most experience with them, and they're an awesome pedal. They do a great job. But but yeah, not super affordable, but a good choice. If you're a bass player listening, check out a Sans amp.
They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tech 21 if you want the guitar stuff, man. They're
another avenue I need to go down.
Are really good.
Yep.
So we've talked about new pedals. We've talked about some older pedals. We've talked about things being made in China. We've talked about
L-shaped pedal boards.
We've talked about even L-shaped pedal boards and some of the ways that things are manufactured, the price points, and how things need to be made in order to facilitate a low price point. I think we've definitely taken a scenic route today to get to Tone Town, but I still think that there were some viable things that were spoken about. And a cool thing about all this is if any of these piqued your interest or sounded attractive to you, the great thing is that some of our wonderful sponsors, like the Guitar Sanctuary, would be a place that you might be able to go to, call, email, go to their website, see what they have in inventory, or call to have Brian Omilion take some of those pedals and put them together on a pedal board for you. The Guitar Sanctuary is one of the sponsors of this podcast, and it would be a great way to help us by helping them by purchasing a product. Or if some of these things piqued your interest and you thought, hey, maybe I want to check this pedal out before I decide to buy it, you could go over to the Pedal Genie, which again, as I've said, is like the Netflix of guitar pedals, where you basically have a rental service that is going to send you out pedals directly to your mailbox so that you are able to demonstrate these pedals for yourself and then make the determination as to whether you want to buy. You get 50% off your first month if you use our promo code, which is the word BOARD, BOARD. You get 50% off the first month. They have various tiers that you can choose from. So head over to Pedal Genie and check them out. Also, to put together all the pedals that you might be buying from the Guitar Sanctuary or renting from Pedal Genie, our friends over at Bestronix are offering 10% off store-wide of everything that they sell. This could be things that are materials for your pedal board, like Velcro or zip ties or tie-down mounts. This could be stuff like cables. This could be things like plugs to put together the loom of your dreams, where you have beautiful long runs going to and from your effects loop, or whatever the case may be. Instrument cables, patch cables, they sell all the materials there at Bestronix. They're offering 10% store-wide with the code DACHAIRS, DACHAIRS, 10% off store-wide. Also, want to shout out RJM. If you want the best switcher in the world, you got to go RJM.
True.
I have 2 RJM switchers. I have a PBC6X and I have a PBC10, 2 different rigs using all exclusively RJM materials. We are a great resource between Brian, Grant, and I. If you want some coaching on how to use it, if you're curious about how to use it, it is a wonderful switcher, probably one of the easiest to set up if you're doing live and you want to have your whole set list uploaded. The software is just so incredible. Definitely go check out RJM and check out their MIDI controlled overdrive called the Overture. They have a brand new all black version on their website for RJM. So definitely go and check that out. And lastly, but not least, Creation Music Company. They make pedal boards. They sell accessories. They make amazing cases. They have some of the, I think actually one of their boards, their metal style boards, that like the Aero series, that's like an incredibly cool idea. It's not the way that I would have ever thought to do it, but when I see you guys building boards with it, I was like, that's a really cool concept. That's a really cool concept, and I think that they have some really well thought out products. They are based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're making some great stuff right here in the USA. Definitely go and check out Creation Music Company. And they just so happen to be giving an amazing discount. You can use the code Chairmen15 for anything on their website and get 15% off whatever it is that you might need. Again, any sort of pedalboard based materials, pedalboard surfaces, if you want to get an Aero series or one of their flat series, cases, whatever it may be, that coupon is going to be an amazing thing to save you some additional money on whatever you're considering as far as your pedalboard needs. Tell them the Chairman sent you. 15% off using the code Chairmen15, CHAIRMEN 15. Get 15% off anything in the store. Gentlemen, any final thoughts before we wrap for today?
I actually, I really enjoyed today stealing all your guys' top secrets on the best deals to be had out there. I would just encourage you guys, again, get rid of the filter. If it's low cost, it doesn't mean it's low on tone. And Mason brought up a good point about, manufacturing is maybe a good thing to think about in terms of the quality of the build. But in my opinion as well, especially if you're using something like a switcher, you'll never really touch the pedal anyways. Some of that stuff is less important if you're not hitting the switch all the time and kicking it and all that. But some of these pedals, man, they sound great and are definitely worth checking out. So I'd encourage you guys to do that.
Brian?
Yeah, no, I mean, Grant pretty much just summed it up. Say don't be, and also don't be afraid to try new used things. It's been plenty of times I've come to love different pedals that weren't, the hottest, thing, or, not everyone ranted and raved about, but there are some hidden gems out there. So yeah, go have fun, try it out.
All right. With that said, we will complete today's board meeting, the 3 of us, and we will see you next week. Adios.
See you guys.
See ya.